Let's conclude our discussion of Sam Tatam's book, Evolutionary Ideas. Today, the emphasis is on expectation management and the sense of control. Recently, I came across some new perspectives on self-awareness. There's a popular theory in neuroscience now, suggesting that the brain is a prediction machine. It claims that our continuous sense of self comes from constantly predicting and receiving feedback about our environment, known as predictive processing. According to this theory, perception involves two signal flows. One from the inside out, where the brain predicts what will happen in the surroundings, and the other from the outside in, where the environment provides feedback about what actually happened. If these two information flows align, with a small margin of error, it implies that things match your predictions. You then experience a continuous feeling of being in the world, providing a sense of security, belonging, and control. However, this is an illusion because the world is not always as you predict. Many of your predictions are incorrect, but you're unaware of them. Nevertheless, some philosophers argue that it's this illusion that gives us self-awareness. But, today, we're not delving into philosophy. What's crucial to understand is that the disruption of this illusion determines the quality of your experience. Consider those automatic escalators in large shopping malls. Sometimes, when they break down, they remain stationary, and you might not be aware of it. You step onto it, expecting it to move, but it doesn't, almost causing you to stumble, perhaps with a hint of dizziness. This is an instance where there's a discrepancy between your consciousness and physical response. A failure of your prediction, known as the broken escalator phenomenon. When your expectations are met, you feel good. The world feels better when it aligns with your expectations. Cheese can actually be white, but most people associate cheese with being yellow. So, when the cheese is yellow, you perceive it as more delicious. Red tomato sauce tastes more like tomato sauce, and drinking cola from a cup with the Coca-Cola logo makes it taste more authentic. This is why attending live comedy shows or talk performances can make the joke seem funnier. You already enter with the expectation of laughter, and especially if the opening acts are genuinely amusing, even the later ones, if not as funny, still feel entertaining. The atmosphere has been set. So, managing consumer expectations is crucial. High-end restaurants not only need excellent food but also a pleasant overall environment, well-presented staff, and polite customers. Then you perceive the food as tastier. Earlier, we discussed variable rewards, a technique used in gambling to captivate individuals. It can be viewed as a form of expectation management. We know that uncertainty in anticipated rewards intensifies happiness. Now, the question arises. What happens if negative expectations are also variable? The answer is that, if negative expectations are variable, the suffering also intensifies. In a study, a computer simulated a game where you flip stones, and some stones hide snakes underneath. If you uncover a snake, you receive an electric shock. The control group, however, didn't have this uncertainty. They just received a single, predictable shock. The results showed that, the pain experienced from a certain, predictable shock was significantly less than, the pain from an uncertain shock. The feeling of not knowing whether tomorrow or an accident will come first is profoundly agonizing. So, good things can be enhanced, with unexpected surprises, while bad things should come with clear expectations. When you visit a hospital, if the front desk explicitly tells you that the doctor will see you in 15 minutes, you won't find the 15-minute wait uncomfortable. But if there's uncertainty, every minute of waiting becomes restless. Some argue that, the success of ride-sharing services, like Uber, is significantly due to their management of waiting expectations. Hailing a taxi leaves you uncertain about when it will arrive, and you don't know how long you'll have to wait. However, with ride-sharing apps, you're given real-time information about the driver's location and estimated arrival time, offering you a precise wait time, creating a positive experience. There's also the return trip effect, suggesting that the return journey from a trip feels shorter than the outbound trip. Research indicates that this effect can make you perceive the return trip as up to 22% shorter. Why? When you go, even if it's by train or plane, the specific experience of that journey remains somewhat uncertain. Upon returning, because you've just traveled the same path, your expectations are much clearer. Unpleasant experiences feel better when expectations are clear. This is why long-haul flights must provide passengers with clear expectations, not just about the flight duration, but also details like when lights will be turned off or when meals will be served. What's even more unbearable is having expectations that aren't met. For example, when you go to a restaurant, there's a default expectation that ordering and serving will take about 15 minutes, allowing you to relax for the first 15 minutes. But if 15 minutes pass without the dish being served, you might start feeling anxious. In light of this, some businesses intentionally extend your expected wait time. For instance, a roadside assistance company might inform you that a technician will arrive within 45 minutes, even though they predict it will only take 30 minutes. By deliberately providing a longer estimate, they leave room for flexibility and surprise you if they arrive earlier. Disney understands this concept well. When you queue at Disney, there are signs at various points indicating approximately how much more time you'll need to wait. Here's a little secret. Research suggests that the time displayed on those signs is intentionally exaggerated. You only need about 65% of the indicated time. However, I'd caution against taking this research too seriously. Modifying expectations might lead to a worse experience if, unexpectedly, the wait time is longer. The stress induced by uncertainty primarily stems from a lack of control. If businesses can offer you even an illusory sense of control, making you feel like you're in command of the situation, you'll be more accepting even if something goes wrong. As mentioned earlier, the core advantage of ride-hailing services is the predictability of waiting time. Uber introduced a carpooling service that allows drivers to pick up additional passengers along the route, introducing a significant element of uncertainty. Many users found this irritating, leading to numerous cancellations mid-trip. Uber addressed this by implementing a feature that shows your progress in real time. You can see precisely what the driver is doing, like finding other passengers, step by step. Even though you might still spend extra time waiting for carpooling, this continuous reporting attitude increases your sense of control, resulting in an 11% reduction in order cancellations. So, when given a task by your leader, provide frequent updates. As we mentioned earlier, operational transparency, such as having a delivery service inform you of your parcel's location in real time, serves the same purpose. Even if it takes 4 days for the parcel to arrive, the constant updates make you feel secure. Why do some athletes have pre-game rituals, like wearing specific clothing, arranging 2 water bottles, or performing certain movements? Because these are things they can control with 100% certainty. Doing these things enhances their sense of control. As we discussed before, traffic lights in New York, where you can press a button while waiting for a red light to notify the system to give you a green light. Although, with digital management, these buttons might no longer work. However, they're still there because they provide a sense of control. In Evolutionary Ideas, Tatam mentions a fascinating example. Elevators always have a door close button, but as early as 1990, the United States passed a law requiring elevators to keep doors open for at least 3 seconds. So, these door close buttons have actually been non-functional for a long time. Their real purpose is to make people feel good. Often, what matters is not the thing itself but how it makes you feel. Tatam's book also discusses the peak end rule. You're likely familiar with it, but let's highlight one aspect. It's not just about services. Many products are also employing the peak end rule. For example, eating an ice cream cone and discovering a piece of chocolate at the bottom, akin to experiencing a surprise ending in a movie, makes the entire experience delightful. It's a deliberate design. Some suggest that health foods don't necessarily have to be made entirely from healthy ingredients. You can place the healthy components in the middle, sandwiched between fats and sugars that people love. The first bite is delicious, it's okay if the middle isn't as tasty, and as long as you ensure the last bite is exceptionally delightful, according to the peak-end rule, people will still perceive the overall experience as delicious. Having covered various psychological strategies from Evolutionary Ideas, let's wrap up with 2 pieces of advice and 1 insight. The first advice is to observe more. Now that you know these psychological strategies, especially their names, observe them in daily life. There was a puzzle in the past about why someone suddenly notices an increase in pregnant women on the streets. The answer: either they are pregnant, or their wife is pregnant. Once you have this awareness, you'll find these strategies everywhere, and you'll wonder how you never noticed them before. This phenomenon has a formal name, called the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon or frequency illusion. Observe and appreciate the subtleties of various applications. The second advice is that not all these strategies work. For instance, consider the default effect. There was an example that, making organ donation the default option increases the number of people willing to donate. However, in the Netherlands, when they tried this, people rebelled. Citizens argued that, making the decision for them challenges their freedom, and many specifically registered to refuse organ donation. The result: the government ended up causing trouble for itself. Behavioral science is not an exact science. You must decide which move to make in a complex environment. A minor change in consumer psychology, a slight shift in their mentality, and the effectiveness of a strategy can vanish, replaced by aversion. The key is not only knowing the strategy but understanding the principles behind it. It's about grasping the underlying reasons rather than the strategy itself. Using a different effective strategy still involves the principles of behavioral science, just possibly a different set of principles. Finally, here's a small insight to leave you with a positive impression. In the opening of the novel Fortress Besieged by Qian Zhongshu, there's a passage. There are only 2 kinds of people in the world. For example, when someone gets a bunch of grapes, one kind picks the best ones to eat first, and the other kind saves the best for last. Typically, the first kind should be optimistic because every grape they eat is the best among the leftovers. The second kind should be pessimistic, because every grape they eat is the worst among the best. However, reality is the opposite because the second kind still has hope, while the first kind only has memories. Isn't this just the peak-end rule? Now, let's assume that grapes vary in size and quality, and both methods of eating are not optimal. Can you design a better experience for eating grapes based on the knowledge from this book?
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.